Humans of the cardboard, welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today we've got a little BEETROOPER action, or I guess if you want to call it like insect good stuff, because it is one of those decks, kind of like plant decks, kind of like zombie decks. They're not really archetypes; they're more like just an amalgamation of generic good cards from that entire type in Yu-Gi-Oh! And it's really cool. This deck's legitimately competitive. It is maybe not exactly tier 1, but it's definitely a deck that can play with tier 1, and it's probably one of those higher end tier 2 decks that anybody in tier 1 should probably know what this deck does, because you seem to find one player topping like every event that happens, or every couple events you see somebody topping very high, getting very high tops with this card or with this deck. So very cool. I'm gonna run through it. This is built to be very competitive, and yeah, it's been really good for me. All right, so starting out, of course, the best card in the deck is Resonance Insect. I don't really need to explain this card. It's the best normal summon. If you see this with any extender in the deck, you are good to go. When it's sent from the field to the graveyard, add any level 5 or higher insect from deck to hand, and if it's banished, you can Foolish Burial any insect from your deck straight to grave. That is insane. This card is ridiculous. Neither of those effects are hard once per turn. You got to play it. Next up here, I do play 2 copies of Gokipole. This is kind of controversial. Not everybody plays 2, but like I said, this isn't a super heavy combo variant like the pure version is. This is more mid-range. And so because of that, you can end up in grind games. And because of that, I'm super okay with double Gokipole. Also, this is like, if you're just going to open Resonance with no extender, I'd rather open Gokipole with no extender, because this is actually a one-card Verte, whereas the Resonance is not. So there you go, 2 Gokipole. Next up here, we move to our Battle Wasp engine. Of course, triple Sting the Poison. This is one of the other really good normal summons in your deck. This card does everything. This card's actually so cool and so good. Oh my gosh, I can't believe this card got overlooked as much as it did. But this card pretty much just says if he's normal or special summon, you can add any Battle Wasp monster from deck to hand. They have generic extenders in their deck. That's really nice. And the second effect is he can quick effect tribute one other insect monster you control to target an effect monster on the field and negate it. So just impermanence by tributing an insect. So he himself is a disruption. He himself searches you an extender. He's a 1-card Verte, 1-card Armor Horn, and he's a tuner. So there can be weird plays with like Hauki Fibrax that this card actually can be a part of, and I am playing it, but it's definitely a droppable card in the deck, but that is a nice little bonus to this card as well. For his extender, his main extender target, triple Pin the Bullseye. This card's awesome. It just says if you control an insect, you can summon this card from your hand. Also, once per turn, you can burn your opponent for 200 times the number of Pin the Bullseyes you control, so cool. Yeah, you can just burn. That actually can come up in time. Gives you a way to be able to go first and still win the duel in time, which is cool. But it's just a great extender. Just simple extender. The other one's good too. The problem with the other one, though, is it does lock you into insects for the rest of your turn. And that's not what we want to do, because we are taking advantage of non-insect stuff in this deck. Albeit the engine is very good and insect-oriented. And the last Battle Wasp we play is one Arbalest, the Rapid Fire. This card's really cool. It's kind of like a Wolf Bark for insects. When it's a normal summon, you can target any level 3 or lower insect in grave and special summon it. Doesn't negate it or anything. And also, if this card is destroyed, you can special summon a Battle Wasp monster from hand or deck. That's really good, because if your opponent ever destroys it, you just summon your Sting, and then Sting gets you another search, and then Sting's already an impermanence on the field, and a tuner. It just works out pretty well. Then we move to the BEETROOPER line of things. Triple Scale Bomber. This card's also a really good extender, but has like that versatility where if it kind of works like a Blue Mountain Butterfly, but for insects. If any insect is summoned, normal or special, this card can summon from the hand, and then while it's on the field, it's kind of like a Ghost Ogre. When a monster your opponent controls activates its effect, you can tribute an insect to destroy that monster. So non-targeting destroy. They just have to like activate an effect on field though. But still, actually not a bad interruption. I actually have times where you just end on this specifically because you're like, let me just add an ogre to my DPE. And that actually can be like the difference sometimes. So really cool card, just a good extender if you're not going to use that second effect. But the second effect is pretty nice as well, so don't ignore it. Next up here is arguably the best card in the deck, Sting Lancer. This card's crazy. I mean, you read some of these insect cards and you're like, insane. Resonance, Gokipole, Sting the Poison. Scale Bomber. And now this guy. This card's crazy. So he has like a quick effect where you can shuffle an insect in your grave and any monster, I think, in your opponent's grave back into the deck and summon himself. That's a quick effect at any point during the main phase. Then when he's summoned, he can actually trigger to search a BEETROOPER spell or trap from deck to hand. So then he's also a +1 at the same time. This card is incredible. It's a 2400 beater on top of that. This card's really, 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 really good. I love this card. This is the reason why this deck is actually like really playable in the format, is because this deck gets this card so easily, and because DPE is so widely played right now, the deck has such an easy access to a card like this that just really helps you handle DPE decks, which is awesome. So like you make DPE, and then your deck just handles the other deck's DPE. And then if they can't handle your DPE, you just walk away with free wins. And the last BEETROOPER we play is Assault Roller. Just a good extender. I was playing as Tekapede before this anyway, but this just has a little bit of extra utility being an actual BEETROOPER monster. Plus the artwork on this card is awesome. I love all the BEETROOPER artworks. I think they all look so amazing. They look so good. The last extender in the deck, Doomdozer. Or a monster extender at least. Banish 2 insects from grave to summon himself. He helps you secure certain OTKs while also just being an important extender. He is the only other target aside from Sting Lancer that we currently are playing for our Resonance. So yeah, definitely something to note. I almost considered playing one Kaiju in the main just in case it came up game 1. But honestly, with side decking and stuff, it's not as important that you have to have it in your main deck game 1. As long as you have it in your side for the matchups, it's really, really necessary. That's all that really matters. Then we move to the hand traps. This is probably a must hand trap. Retaliating Sea in this deck is insane. Oh my gosh. So if you don't know what this card does, it says if your opponent activates a spell card that includes an effect that special summons a monster. Just a little background. Any ritual deck will automatically have to trigger this card to even attempt to play. Any fusion deck will probably have to trigger this card to even attempt to play. And that's like the bare minimum. And then like any deck that just plays extenders. I mean, you look at stuff like Hornet Drones triggers this card. Any token generating spell summons this card. Any reborn spell triggers card. If it summons a monster and it's a spell, you trigger this card. It summons itself, and then when it's on the field, it's pretty much Macrocosmos. Any card sent to the grave would be banished instead. That's insane for specifically stuff like fusion summoning, because your opponent goes activate a fusion, you chain this, it summons, and then their fusion materials both get banished as well as the fusion spell. So versus stuff like Shadal's like broken. Oh my gosh, IDS just like loses to this card. It's insane. And then on top of that, when this card leaves the field, is sent from field to graveyard, it searches any earth insect with 1500 or less attack from deck to hand. That's also insane because it's searching Resonance or Gokipole, 2 of your best normal summons in your entire deck, and you could even try to play other targets as well, but we're not right now because this card's already crazy enough, and the targets we can search are already great. So yeah, that card's like so insane. Other hand traps include double Nib, for the monsters at least, and double Lancia. I wanted some higher impact hand traps here. I think with Lancia, depending on the deck, a lot of times it's going to not necessarily stop a turn outright, but it is going to say, oh, your turn now is super mediocre. Your turn now is like super, just like meh. But you're not ending on anything crazy, and that can beat stuff that's not crazy. And then Nib just being Nib. Like, you probably need to be playing Nib, whether it's in your main or your side. I don't like playing 3 in the main. That's just like a personal thing for me. But I play the 3rd in the side. So in the matchups, it's too good. You have to play 3. Yeah. There's definitely an argument, I think, to swap Lancia, but I really do like the Nib in the main. There, and the last monsters we play in the main are the only 2 bricks in the deck, Celestial and Basher. It is what it is, but yeah, you got to play them. Moving on to the spells in the deck, I'm on double copies of BEETROOPER Descent. I like the field spell, but unfortunately, because we're only playing, 6 BEETROOPER monsters in the main, I get it. We can get into the extra deck, which has BEETROOPER monsters in there, but for the most part, like, the field spell is just not coming up enough, and it is a brick to draw if you're not getting access to your BEETROOPER cards. But this card's still amazing. This card's so good. There's no restriction on it, which is the best part about it. And it's searchable off of Sting Lancer. It's actually the only search target I'm currently playing for Sting Lancer, which is kind of funny, but, you know, I'm making it work. So yeah, 2 just in case you need to search one and then search another one later on in the duel. Just get those going. Because sometimes you need to grind, and Sting Lancer is one of the best cards in your deck for grinding. We're playing DPE, so of course you got to play the triple Fusion Destiny. This card's insane. I'm definitely somebody who falls into that camp of, instead of getting greedy, sometimes even like to make Verte, activate it just to bait a hand trap, you know, Veil or Imperm, whatever. And then even when I have Fusion Destiny already in hand, because then I get to activate it anyway, and I baited a hand trap at the same time. It's just too broken. It's too good. Card's insane. There, one Monster Reborn. Just one of the best extenders ever in the game. I actually think it's funny. I think people get cheeky and like try to find in archetype extenders and all this stuff, and then like I look at it and I'm like, where's your Monster Reborn? You're playing a combo deck and you're not playing Monster Reborn? Get out of here. At some point, like, you just should be playing Monster Reborn, especially if you're playing something like a DPE deck where like if you get nibbed and you just have Reborn in hand, boom, you just made Verte. Cool. Or like, you know what I mean? Any deck that just needs to make a Link 2 to like get a play going, or like just so good. So good. And then the last spell I play is triple Chalice. Again, because I'm playing the mid-range version of this deck, I don't need to play insane amounts of extenders. I'm able to play defensive cards like the hand trap lineup I'm playing, and this is no exception to that. This is just a little more extra flexibility with that stuff, playing into boards specifically. This card's just so good. It's an interruption going first, it helps you play into boards going second, and it's just incredibly powerful. I actually really like this card a lot. I'm trying to play it in like every deck I can. Last card in the main, not surprising, triple Impermanence. I kind of want to find room for the counter trap because we do have like such easy access all the time to Sting Lancer, but I understand that if you're not getting to Sting Lancer, there's no guarantee your deck is getting to Atlas, in which case the counter trap would just be a complete brick because you have to have a BEETROOPER for it to be live. But I don't know, I still think it's a good card, and like if like your play is like make Sting Lancer before you make DPE, like DPE plus a Monster Negate is like really strong. Really strong. And the card has potential to come back later on. I don't know, man. Maybe we just need to see one more mini wave of BEETROOPER cards to like to make it worth it, but it's definitely something I'm already considering just as a one-of, because sometimes I feel like I'm making like really mediocre boards when like that would be the icing on the cake to like win duels. But who knows? Like, just getting a Descent for next turn isn't bad either, because it means we just have, like, awesome follow-up. All right. Moving to the extra deck here, of course, we have to play some mandatory stuff. Almirage and Link Spider. Almirage is there for the weird hands where you open Resonance or Goki Pole without an extender. You need to normal summon those and just link them off. That's what makes Goki Pole a one-card Link 2 for Verte, because you just go normal, link it into Almirage, Goki Pole search the Assault Roller, and then Assault Roller banish Goki Pole and to summon itself, and then you've got two monsters. And then kind of same idea, especially if you're playing Kaijus for Resonance. Like you can normal Resonance into a board, link it off, and if your opponent's like, I don't want to hand trap him too early, I don't want to negate him too early if he has like a bunch of extenders, so I'm gonna let that resolve. And then you search a Kaiju and they realize it's too late because you're gonna like Kaiju their best monster. And then Link Spider, between Descent, between getting nibbed, between whatever, just being able to turn normal monsters into Link Spider so that you can make Verte can come up fairly often. Moving on from there, we have our Insect Links. We're going to do double Armor Horn, one Pico Felina. Armor Horn is great when you open the more gassy hands you're going into this. And honestly, Pico doesn't come up nearly as much in this list either. Again, we're not playing the super combo heavy variant, so that makes sense. You're never making this card unless like you open a pretty gassy hand. But when you do, it's nice, and also being able to like reset stuff into your extra deck or get stuff into the main deck to again draw more cards actually does come up in longer duels, which this deck is this variant is more prone to ending up in. Then for some other Link 2s, Verte, Win, and Crystron, Hauki, Fibrax. I'm honestly not even that big on the Hauk play, but you know, theoretically it's cool. You can summon a what's his face? Sting the Poison out of the deck, and it just helps you Link climb. You're not doing anything crazy. We're not doing Celine plays with it. It's just like if you have two materials, this gets you to 3, and that gets you one step closer to Access Code. That's like literally all it is. And then Win, there's actually a fair amount of like Wind monsters running around. If you can out like a Fleur and then burn to Fleur and then reborn it, like that's crazy. And then we know Verte. I don't need to explain Verte. For the Link 3s, double Papillon, one Unicorn. Papillon's just so good being generic, so that you can like clear your Armor Horn, because that's the one bad part about the BEETROOPER extra deck monsters. Not even extra deck monsters, mostly just Armor Horn, is that it says while it's on the field you can only summon insects, so you need to go take that up into Papillon before you can start making something else. So a lot of times you're making this just before you make either Appaloosa or Armor Horn, or not Armor Horn, Giant Atlas, Invincible Atlas, or Access Code. So this card's kind of just a stepping stone, but sometimes in particular game states, it's also just best to leave it, and you're going to Reborn a Sting the Poison on the opponent's turn, which is going to get you like a follow-up, and it's going to be a imperm, and like sometimes it's just better to like roll with that. And then Unicorn, just very important removal. The worst part about the BEETROOPER engine, in my opinion, not a lot of removal going on. Little bit of monster removal, literally no spell and trap removal. So we need Unicorn, we need Access Code, we need DPE. That's why those things are so important as being splashed in this deck. That's why we're going away from a lot of the insect cards that lock us out of generic extra deck monsters, and focusing on that, because these cards are so important to cover up one of the biggest weaknesses of the BEETROOPER archetype, or just insects in general. And then for the Link 4s, one Atlas, one Code Talker, one Appaloosa. I think Appaloosa is potentially cuttable, but it does come up. When you open like a super gas hand, you can end on like this with a couple materials, as well as DPE and a Sting Lancer in hand, which is really powerful. And then Atlas can come up to just be like a big Chungus that's hard to deal with, while also being able to tribute itself to summon like a Sting Lancer or a Scale Bomber or whatever you want, which is actually pretty good. And then Code Talker just helps you OTK, helps you clear boards. Like we know what he does. And of course, the last card in the extra is your Phoenix Enforcer. I'm not really going to explain him. He is the best boss monster in the deck. But to be honest, every deck that plays him, he's the best boss monster in that deck. So, you know, I'm sorry. I mean, I really like. So, like, as much as I think that it's lame, and you guys know I tend to fall into this category, I think it's lame when, like, a bunch of decks are playing the same engine, splashing the same generic cards into their deck, like the DPE engine. I just really, really love the way that this variant plays. This deck is really fun to play if you're that kind of duelist that likes to play those interactive back and forth duels, because this deck really is great at, like, just grinding and playing that mid-range game and trying to control the board. It's really, really fun if that sounds like a style you'd be into and you think insects are cool. The BEETROOPERs are some of my favorite artwork cards I've seen as of late, and I hope Konami's not done with them just yet. I hope we get like one more wave. It doesn't have to be huge, just a couple cards, or maybe just every once in a while we get cards for them, hopefully. I just don't want Konami to wait like 3 years before the next time we get support for them. But to be fair, generic insect stuff helps this deck. So if they just make any insect cards, it'll be good. But the more searchable it is, the better. So BEETROOPER would be better. But yeah, that's going to do it for me here today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. As always, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more stuff from me down the line. I got Master Duel stuff, obviously, is really hype right now. Probably going to do a little bit of stuff there. I'm really enjoying the game so far. But I definitely don't want to like leave this alone. I might even try and do some live duels for you guys pretty soon, just cause, you know, why not? But yeah, I'm gonna get the hell out of here. Thank you so much for watching. As always, leave me your thoughts down below. Subscribe if you haven't yet and you want to see more stuff like this, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.